everyone, welcome back to my channel Tutelage, a guide to learner. Here, this is Sriparna. Hope you all are doing good. In my last economic session, we had already discussed one of the most important chapter of Indian economy, that is the concept of poverty. And today we are going to explain another new chapter on economics, that is structural changes in the Indian economy. And the first part we will discuss today the concept of liberalization only. Okay, so if you have missed my previous session, so please go to my first comment and description box where channel's link is already provided, and you will get each and every video in my channel. I have another channel which is Bengali educational channel, like tutelage, a guide to UGC NET aspirants, and which deals with the syllabus of UGC NET examination. And the first paper, both paper we will discuss in my another channel, that is tutelage, a guide to UGC NET aspirants, both papers. Okay, so first paper, that is a general paper, and we call it general paper, and the main paper and mine paper is education. So let's start the session, and at first we have to see what topic we will discuss today. So now move on to the next slide. Here we can see some topics. So first one is Indian economy and a mixed economy. So basically Indian economy is a mixed economy. We have already told to everyone in my previous sessions the different types of economy, that is the mixed economy, socialist economy and capital economy, and their characteristics, their merits and demerits. So if you have any doubt on it, so please go and check my previous session. Okay, and the link is the link of the previous session is so here we can see a few topics. So first topic, that is Indian economy, a mixed economy. So basically Indian economy, a mixed economy, and we have already told different types of economy like socialist economy, capitalist economy and mixed economy, and their merits, demerits, characteristics, etc. So if you have any doubt on it, so please go and check my channel. So all previous sessions links are available in my first comment and my description box. And now move on to the next concept, that is meaning of liberalization. We have already told we will discuss only the concept of liberalization, so that's why we have to know what do you mean by liberalization. And now going to the third concept, that is features of liberalizations, and now going to the last concept for today's session, that is significance of liberalization policy. So I think the what topic we will discuss today, so all are clear to everyone. So now move on to the main slide and let's begin the session. We all know that today's topic, today's chapter is structural changes in Indian economy after liberalization. So the year 1991, okay, so the year 1991 marks a watershed in the process of growth of the Indian economy. And since 1991, there has been a major change in the strategies of development, and this has come to be known as the new economic policy. Okay, so the new economic policy, new economic uh, policy basically was based on three major policy measures. So that is liberalization, second one is privatization, and third one, and one of the most important one, that is all are important, but globalization is one of the most important policy measures in the new economic policy. Okay, so liberalization, privatization and globalization. So today we will discuss only the concept of liberalization part, and we have already told that thing. So liberalization policy, what do you mean by a liberalization policy? So liberalization policy basically was characterized by liberalization of the Indian economy from various types of control. like licensing permits which regulated the non-agricultural sector before 1991. So liberalization policy was characterized by the liberalization of the Indian economy free from some control, which included in the non agricultural sector only, okay, not the agricultural sector. So liberalization policy was characterized by liberalization of the Indian economy from various types of controls like licensing, permits, etc. I think, what do you mean by a liberalization policy, and what is the basic relation between Indian economy and liberalization? So that is clear to everyone. So now move on to the next. So I think this is clear. What do you mean by a liberalization? Okay. So now move on to the main thing, that is Indian economy. What is the nature of the Indian economy? So basically, Indian economy is a mixed economy. We have already told what do you mean by a mixed economy. So do you know, learner, what do you mean by a mixed economy? So basically, the concept of mixed economy refers to a strategy, refers to the coexistence of the public sector, public sector and the private sector. So in a mixed economy, both systems are included in this strategy, in this economy. So a system of mixed economy with coexistence of the public sector, that means governmental sector, and the private sector. So I think this is clear. What do you mean by a mixed economy? Okay. So Indian economy at the time of attainment of the independence was backward, traditional, and stagnant, with a stagnating per capita national income, very low standard of living, high levels of unemployment, poverty, etc. But since 1951, Indian economy has been on the forward move. Its achievements in the course of the last over 6 decades have been reasonably impressive. Different sectors of the Indian economy have shown moderate to good performance. Many structural changes have also taken place. But despite all these things, Indian economy is still underdeveloped economy, and in fact now Indian economy is considered as an underdeveloped but developing economy. Okay. So I think clear what is the basic nature of the Indian economy. So Indian economy at the time of independence, at the time of before independence, Indian economy was backward, traditional, stagnant. And since 1951, Indian economy has been on the forward move. So many structural changes have also taken place, but Indian economy is still a developing economy, and the declared social objective of the Indian development strategy since independence has been growth with equitable distribution in democratic political framework. So equitable distribution basically related to the public sector. Okay. So this necessitated the adoption of the mixed economy as an institutional force to achieve the objective of the growth with equitable distributions. The government also adopted the strategy of economic planning so as to accelerate development, eliminate poverty, achieve balanced regional development, and reduce economic inequalities. So, thus, Indian economy adopted a system of mixed economy with coexistence of the public sector and private sector. Okay, as a strategy of economic development within the framework of comprehensive planning. I think this is clear. What is the basic nature of the Indian economy, and what is the previous situation of the Indian economy, and why Indian economy is a mixed economy. So now going to the next concept. So we have already told what do you the basic meaning of the liberalization. Okay, so basically, economic liberalization is the policy of deregulation of different segments of the economy. Okay, and liberalization, obviously, liberalization policy is an important part of the economic reforms characterizing the new economic policy. So, economic liberalization is the policy of deregulation, basically, of the different sectors, of the different segments of economy. And it is the policy of doing away or reducing the government controls over industry and other activities which existed before 1991. So, the objective of introducing the liberalization policy in 1991 was to move from a regulated system to a new system where regulations were to be reduced and ultimately minimized. Basically, liberalization means free from any regulations, okay, of the different segments of the economy. So, I think this is clear. So different sectors of the economy were to be made free from controls, license, permits, etc. The Indian policymakers were not thinking of a policy of laissez-faire and laissez-faire. So what we call laissez-faire, Laissez-Faire. So what do you mean by a laissez-faire? So, laissez-faire means completely unregulated economy but of reduced regulation. So, basically, the liberalization refers free from any controls, licenses, permits. So, Indian policymakers were not thinking of a policy of laissez-faire. Okay, so one minute. So Indian policymakers were thinking of a policy of liberalizations, but not completely, but not thinking of a policy of laissez fair. Okay, so what do you mean by a laissez-faire? Laissez-faire means completely unregulated economy, but but of reduced regulation. So basically, policymakers were Indian policymakers were not thinking of the policy of laissez-faire; they were thinking of the policy of liberalization. Okay, so we all know economic liberalization is the policy of deregulation of the different sectors of economy. Now going to the next concept, that is features of liberalization. So the first point, that is delicensing. Delicensing means free from license. Okay. So before 1991 there existed a regulatory system of licensing and controls. So some industries were covered under this system and which were required to be registered and or granted license by the government. So regulatory system of licensing and controls became a hurdle in the industrial growth, and it caused delays in investment decisions, unnecessary government interference, bureaucratic red tapeism, etc. And the thrust of the policy of liberalization was on abolishing the requirement of the licensing of industries. In most of the cases, the industrial policy of 1991 has made the licensing policy very liberal. The requirement of licensing has been abolished for most of the industries except five industries, that is alcohol, cigarettes, hazardous chemical, defense equipment and industrial explosive, for security, strategic, social and environmental reasons. So entrepreneurs are now free to enter any industry, trade or business. So in many cases licenses are no longer needed to start business as was the case earlier. So, approval for any new venture, including any change in the existing venture, is almost automatic now. So, the removal of licensing system has given a greater role to the market forces. So, now going to the second point, that is relaxation in controlling monopolies. So, under the Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices like MRTP Act, all the firms with assets above a certain amount, 100 crores, since 1985 were permitted to enter selected industries only, and they were required to take approval of the government for any investment proposal. So, in order to make deregulation more effective, restrictions on functioning of monopolies have been relaxed. So, monopoly houses are no longer required to seek prior government approval for expansion and establishment of new industries. So, the emphasis has shifted now to controlling and regulating the monopolistic and restrictive unfair trade practices by taking action against the offenders so as to safeguard the interest of the consumers. So, now going to the third point, that is liberalization of industrial location policy. So, industrial location policy liberalized. So, now going to the third point, that is liberalization of industrial location policy or industrial location policy liberalized. So, in a departure from the earlier industrial location policy, freedom has been given to industries to be located at all locations other than cities with more than 1 million population. So, there is no need for obtaining the approval of government except for industries subject to the compulsory licensing, that means alcohol industries, cigarette industries, mechanical equipments, defense equipments industries, hazardous chemical industries, etc. Okay, so in a departure from the earlier industrial location policy, freedom has been given to the industry to be located at all locations other than cities with more than 1 million population. So I think this is clear. So liberalization of the industrial location policy. So now move on to the fourth point, removal of restrictions. So restrictions on mergers, takeovers, separation of the industrial units, etc. all are removed. So that is the basic feature of the policy of liberalization in the new Indian economic policy 1991. Now going to the fifth point, so that is liberalization of the capital market. So capital market has been made free in the new economic policy 1991. A new company can be floated now with the issuance of the new shares and debentures without seeking the permission of the government. So, however, Securities and Exchange Board of India, that is called SEBI, okay, SEBI. So, the full form is Securities and Exchange Board of India, has been set up as a watchdog for regulating the functioning of the capital market. So now move on to the sixth point, foreign exchange market reforms. So reforms have been introduced in the foreign exchange market, and flexible exchange rate is introduced, under which exchange rate is determined by the market forces. So in 1993-1994, the rupee was made fully convertible on a trade account in terms of the foreign currency. Exporters can now convert the foreign currency earned by them into Indian rupees at the prevailing market exchange rate. Similarly, importers can now buy the foreign currency from the market at the market rate. The Reserve Bank of India, or RBI, helps only to ensure that there are no extreme fluctuations in the exchange rate. So, foreign exchange market reforms in one of the most important feature of liberalization policy in the new economic policy 1991. Now going to the next point, the development of infrastructure. So obviously private sector has been allowed to enter and develop the infrastructure such as power, roadways, communications, shipping, civil aviation, banking, etc. And this is also one of the most important features or characteristics of liberalization. I think this is clear. What do you mean by a policy of liberalization and what are the features of liberalization? So now move on to the next slide, and here we can see the significance of liberalization. So, the first point, the policy of liberalization has tried to overcome the problems of control rules, such as problems of uncalled delays, corruptions, etc. So, obviously, liberalization's one of the most important significance of liberalization is free from control of the in the economy. Okay, so free from all control, all license, permits, corruptions, etc. So now going to the second significance of liberalization, that is liberalization policy has provided freedom to the entrepreneurs. Okay, so obviously liberalization policy is related to the new form. So that's why it has provided freedom to the entrepreneurs, and it has provided free licensing power to the entrepreneurs. Now move on to the third point, third significance of liberalization, that is liberalization policy has injected a spirit of competition in the economic system, and the spirit of competition basically encourage the entrepreneurs to undertake investment, and obviously which helps efficiency in the economy. So we know liberalization policy has provided freedom to the entrepreneur, so that's why it has injected spirit of competitions in the economic system, and it has encouraged the entrepreneurs to take more investment in the economy, in the Indian economy. So more investment implies more efficiency, more growth in the Indian economy. I think this is clear why the liberalization policy is most important in the new economic policy 1991. And there are we all know that there are policy three policy measures. First one is liberalization, second one is privatizations, and third one is globalizations. And today we have only discussed the policy of liberalization. So I think the meaning of liberalizations, functions, features, significance all are clear to everyone. So in my next session we will discuss the policy of privatization and the policy of globalizations. Okay. So, learner, we are done for the today's session. I hope this session will be a very useful to everyone. So, if you like my session, do not forget to like, share, comment, and please do some support and subscribe my channel for getting more useful sessions. I will come again with a new session. Till then, stay tuned. Thank you to all of you. Happy learning. Keep commenting.